Hey guys, I am sitting outside right now. It is a beautiful day, and I have a little container of water in front of me because today we're going to be doing a water experiment. W is for water. So I picked out 5 items around my house, and we are going to test today, put them in water and see if they sink or float. So here are my objects. I have a penny, I have a car, I have a spoon, I have a smaller container, and I have some mulch. So I'm going to test each of those objects to see whether or not they float or sink in this water. I also made a little chart. I have all the names of each object here, and then right next to it I have the words sink or float. So once I test each object, if it sinks in the water, then I will circle sink, or if it floats, I'll circle the word float. So let's test out our first contestant is a penny. Here's the penny. Let's see if it floats or sinks. Oop, there it goes. So the penny went all the way to the bottom of the container, which means it sunk. So for our first object, we will circle the word sink. Perfect. So we have one item so far that sunk to the bottom. Let's see what the rest do. Next we have our car, which actually I think Drew, if you're watching this, Drew gave me this car. I think it was a part of his little Valentine on Valentine's Day. So thank you, Drew. We're going to see if this car floats or if it sinks. Let's see. Oh, it floated for a second. Let's see again. So we have another object that also sinks. It looks like it really wants to float. I think it just needs to learn how to swim. I don't know if I can teach a car how to swim though. I don't know. For our car, we are once again going to circle sink. Okay, next I have a spoon, and I have a feeling this is also going to sink to the bottom. It's a very dense object, it's heavy. Maybe you'll notice a lot of the heavier objects will float to the bottom, so let's see. Ah, there it goes. Can you see me? There's my hand waving in the spoon. All right, we have a third object that likes to sink to the bottom. So once again, I will take my red marker and circle the word sink under spoon. So next is my smaller container, and I have a feeling that this one will float. It is a lot lighter than our other objects, and also if you'll notice, it's hollow, which means there's like a hole inside. There's nothing really in here, so I think this one will end up floating. So let's try it out. Look at that. It is just swimming all around. Okay, so finally we get to circle the word float for our container. I am a little bit curious. I want to test something else with this smaller container. My prediction was that this would float because it's hollowed out. There's nothing in the center of the container. So I wonder if it was filled with something, would it still float or would it sink to the bottom? So I think I'm just gonna fill it with some of the water. So we scooped up some water. Let's see if it still floats or if it decides to sink. So I don't know if you can see, it's not quite at the very bottom of the bigger container, but it did definitely sink a lot more once I put something in the smaller container. So that's pretty cool. And last but not least, we have our final item. Oh, it's blowing everywhere. My final item is this mulch. My prediction is that all of this mulch is probably going to float because it's very light. So let's see. OMG! Look at that, I was right. How cool. I think it's really cool to see why some things float and why some things end up sinking to the bottom. And I think today we found out that a lot of the lighter items like the mulch and the empty container ended up floating because there's not a lot to it. It's not very heavy. And then the heavier items like our car and the penny, even though a penny is tiny, it's still very dense, and our spoon. So that was our water experiment. W is for water. If you want to try this at home, oh no, I totally didn't even circle mulch. Hold on. Mulch was a floater. If you want to try this out at home, it's a lot of fun, especially if it's a beautiful day outside. Get outside. Maybe you can go for a nature walk and try to find different parts of nature and make some guesses. Do you think they will float, or do you think they'll sink? And why do you think they'll float or sink? And then my dog is watching me. Say hi. That's my dog Marky. I totally don't know what I was saying. But yeah, maybe go for a nature walk and find some cool parts of nature that you can test in some water, or maybe around your house like I did. So if you decide to do this project, definitely take some pictures and definitely maybe keep track, kind of like I did, so you can see at the end what ended up sinking or floating. So I think that's it for today, friends. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.